Good Monday afternoon. Thank you for being here on the Nikki Maduro Show. And I'm so sorry that I was tardy to the Nikki Maduro Show party. What a day on the Mark Thompson Show, having to produce everything and then having to come over here. So I'm so sorry that I was delayed. And thank you for making your way to the Nikki Maduro Show today. Last day, by the way, that this show will be on from noon to 2 tomorrow. Nikki Maduro's show moves from 9 to 11, and she will be here as we change over and make the grand time change. And of course, Mark Thompson's show will be on from 11 to 1. So again, Nikki from 9 to 11, Mark from 11 to 1, and then we have a new show coming on from 1 to 2. And I have to say, I am so incredibly grateful to both Mark Thompson and Nikki Maduro for helping to spread the word that we needed enough subscribers to do a live show on YouTube, and to all of you who subscribed at theafterparty.live here on YouTube and pushed us over that 1,000 mark so that we could do the show tomorrow. So that will be coming tomorrow as well with me and John Daly. So again, Nikki at 9, you'll have to wake up early with us. 9 a.m. we start. Mark starts at 11, and then the after party at 1. So that is what is happening tomorrow. Okay. I don't know if you saw this story, but I have video and I'm by myself today. So please bear with me as I try to get all the visuals up for you here on the screen. If you're listening, what I'm going to show you is a picture of this home that is, they say, in danger of sliding into the sea for a deep discount. Here's the house. You can see it perched on an ocean bluff in beautiful Pismo Beach, right? Really, really nice. There's a house looking over this street. So it's not falling yet. Let's take a look at that house. You can see it right there, kind of perched over the ocean, but you can see the erosion down below. And I guess more and more of the hillside is crumbling and crumbling and crumbling. And other people that live on this street have had a hard time, and they've had to put up a seawall at a cost of a lot of money. So I guess the question is, how much would you be willing to pay for an ocean overlooking the ocean home, oceanside home with a beautiful view in Pismo Beach? How much do you think you'd be willing to pay for that, knowing that your house might not be in it for the long haul, and that you might have to pay a heck of a lot of money to put up a seawall to keep the erosion from claiming your house eventually? Well, this is on Indio Drive in Pismo Beach. It is, again, as you can see, oceanfront. Got palm trees, you've got the sound of the waves. It's really lovely until uh until the world, the nature at hand starts eating away at the wall in front of your house, and then you're in trouble, right? So the people that have lived on this street, Indio, they've been warned for years that there are risks here. Some you might not be able to fix. Doesn't matter how much money you slap down, you might not be able to fix it, right? They say there's erosion, they cite eventual collapse, and they say it's dangerous that this house and others have been built so close to the sea cliff. I know there are communities like this across California and other states that are facing similar problems. But when you look at where you want to move, I mean, wouldn't it be nice to live right on the ocean? What a view. That's great. But when you look at what the problems that come with this, how much would you be willing to pay for this house? Well, it was listed for 3.6 million, no takers. And then it was listed for 2.1 million. That's a pretty steep discount. 3.6 to 2.1. No takers. Still, nobody's interested. Now they've slashed the price another 850 grand to 1.25 million. So from an original asking price of 3.6 in April, to 1.2. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath home for now, 3,100 square feet. It was built in 2003. It's pretty I mean, it's a beautiful home. It's really nice, you know, as these things go. I'll show you a picture of the what it looks like from the front. There, that's from the non-ocean side. So it's picturesque. It's lovely. Um, yeah, I wouldn't pay I don't know about you, I wouldn't pay a cent. Not a cent for this place. I don't wanna wake up in the middle of the night to sounds of cracking cliff sides or cracks on the foundation of my home or wondering if I'm gonna slide off into the ocean or if I'm gonna be okay. I don't know how you sell a house like this for 1 point whatever. I don't know how you sell it for 500,000. They say putting up the seawall is at a very minimum at least $500,000. And I don't know if that really comes with any guarantees. The Surfrider Foundation is saying there needs to be more thought when people build in places like this. There needs to be more rules and codes and testing of, of cliff sides and, building further back and on and on. That we've just, people will slap up a house wherever they can. It's it's not um I don't know. People don't think. People are just, you put up these homes and you don't think about mother nature. It's interesting because I've seen other homes. I saw one in Hawaii recently for sale. And it too was on a cliffside overlooking the sea. And you could see the, crumbling of the deck. And they're trying to offload this house because really, who wants to live there? I think that one was being sold while it was red tagged. And I don't look at coastal homes the same way I used to. Just like I don't look at homes even around me, in the North Bay the way I used to. The big, beautiful homes surrounded by rolling hills. I'm looking at now, oh, that house. Look at all the hills surrounding that house. That's a fire danger. When the flames come, theirs is the first to go. I'm looking at things differently, and I think that's how we have to look at where we're building and the situation with the coast. So the California Coastal Commission, and I mentioned the Surfrider Foundation, say erosion, eventual collapse, it's dangerous. But still, the owners are trying to get rid of this house. They've got it up on Zillow, 117 Indio Drive on the ocean side of the street. Any takers here? Anybody want to buy that here? I don't know. There was a home, nearby that did sell, but they put a seawall up. This Zillow listing at 117 says and at least they're honest, right? They start off with emergency, seawall is needed. Then they say cash buyers only, property being sold as is. The city of Pismo Beach says an emergency permit is ready to be pulled. Mm. Not me. I'll show you a little further down. There's a picture of the look at that. There's the cliff. You can see that there's the hillside, right? Look at that. I mean, it doesn't look good. They've tried to put some fencing up in places that look like it's buckling. You can't fence off Mother Nature. Things are going to erode. You might stave it off for a little while, but eventually it's all coming down. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. I'll say that. The back patio of 117 Indio ends abruptly at the cliff's edge. The real estate agent says, was asked questions by SF Gate and says, the it's his property, the owner, he's very private. We really can't answer any questions for you about the home's status, about its imminent sliding down the cliff. We just really can't talk. All right, I'm going to the chat because I want to see what you guys are saying about this house. Let's see what your thoughts are. I'll go back because I must have missed a lot probably. And thank you guys for being here today. Um, let's see. Murphy says, "Hi, Murphy." Murphy says, "Pismo Beach is one of my favorite places, but I would never buy a house that is guaranteed to fall into the ocean." Right? Kim says, "I'm not willing because no insurance company is going to insure that house." Yeah, if you fork over your 1.25, first of all, no guarantee it's not going to be red tagged and you can't even live in it. There is a guarantee that you're going to have to pay at a minimum a half a million dollars to put up a seawall. And even that's no guarantee. And I'm sure insurance would be getting insurance would be a nightmare. So then your $1.25 million investment is a, sitting duck, right? SF Tesla says, you're in trouble when they rename the area Titanic Falls Cliff. Yeah. I have, John writes, "Have you ever been on the Del Playa in Isla Vista? Basically off campus housing for UCSB. I have been there. As a matter of fact, my husband was living there when we met and went to UC Santa Barbara. So he went there. Um, yeah. Oceans are rising. It's a lost cause, says Mindy. Oceans are rising. It's it's already crumbling. It's toast. You have $1.25 million. Probably want to spend it somewhere else. And I feel for the owner too, because maybe they made a huge investment. Maybe the property was special to them. It's sad. Nick says, yeah, if you wake up at all when the house is coming down, I would like to think that it's going to be loud enough with the cracking of the cliff that you have time to get out, but who knows? Eric says, I'd pay a penny, 1 penny. That's about it, huh? Throwing money into the wind, says Mindy. Don't do it. Vilma says you're throwing your money into the ocean is what you're doing. Right on, Vilma. That's true. James writing, who's still buying homes in that area is sure to become inundated due to sea level rise. Maybe there's areas, yes, that's true, but look at the cliff, right? So how high will the sea rise? What are they saying? I mean, maybe a couple feet. And that's like the worst estimate. So it's not like the water's rushing into your home, but the water's wiping away that hillside for sure. And I'm sure there are parts of Pismo Beach that aren't right on the ocean that are safe to live in. But I mean, in theory, you're right. SF Tesla says permanent home constructed on disposable property. Right. Not exactly an ideal combination. It's true. Nick says nature doesn't usually move fast enough for most humans to consider until it does. And then people cry and wail and wave their hands asking, why and how could this happen? James writing, in wildfire areas, how long until they're uninsurable? Well, we're already seeing that, right? I mean, we've seen a couple major insurers pull out of California, also Florida, because of storm damages. But here in California, yeah, it's harder and harder, especially if you live in a zone deemed a wildfire zone to insure your home. Mindy says it's beautiful. You could end up in the sea while you're sleeping in your bed for 1.25 mil. Mindy, Lord. PT just hope the old or new owner isn't able to find a way to qualify for the government to build a seawall or imagine to save this place. I don't think so. One of the other the article I was reading says there's another owner down the road that ponied up the money for his own seawall. So, but I guess they're having permit problems. Now the real estate agent on the listing says an emergency permit is able to be pulled to build the seawall. Mm. Let's see this comment from John. I look at high density cities, clustered high rises, people packed together by the hundreds of thousands, much differently since the COVID pandemic. When do you want to be when the next one spreads? You know where I don't want to be? In a place where I have to worry that I won't have a house to live in. That's where I don't want to be. PT says if it becomes unsafe, not only are you out the purchase price, but you'll have to pay for the tear down as well. I mean, I guess so. Probably couldn't just walk away with your hands, held high. You have to clean it up. Luis, not surprising. People buy homes in lava fields on the Big Island, and the locals wonder what's wrong with us in the mainland. I think, yes, Luis, I think there are lava fields, though, where scientists say there's no threat anymore of whatever volcano, Kilauea, uh, pushing lava in those directions, which is why they've been deemed safe. They can see where the lava is flowing and where it will likely flow in the case of the next eruption. So, but yeah, it's true. It's true. They do. They do build on lava flows. Gordon writes, if the waves hit the bottom of the seawall will crumble. And over time it will. I mean, what a temporary fix that is. Again, I forget who said it's a permanent build on a temporary landscape, right? So would a seawall be. It's a temporary fix. Leon says people with throwaway money buy these places. I I guess if you had throwaway money, is that where you're gonna? I mean, if you have that kind of money to throw away, is that where you want to spend it? I don't think so. Even people with throwaway money don't want a home that's going to crumble into the ocean. Eric says, wasn't there some billionaire that tried to build a house that was also a blimp? A good way to avoid all the problems with location, though not so good if there's a hurricane. Yeah, talking about being uninsurable. It's true. Eric, under the sea, your house is better now that it's wetter. Take it from me. That's funny. So yeah, I think this is a situation we have here is a situation, but it is a situation we will see again and again, and we have, and will continue to see as sea levels rise, as erosion continues, and these homes on these in these beautiful areas, these multi-million dollar homes. Because again, when this first went up as a listing, it was more than $3 million. Now it's down to 1.2. I don't think they're. I don't think they're gonna be able to sell it at all. But maybe someone looking for affordable housing will come in at, 250. I don't know. I don't know. But that is a story I wanted to show you, so thank you for bearing with me on that. Some other stories that I have been looking at today include Georgia and what is happening with that elections case focused on former President Trump out of the great state of Georgia. The Fulton County DA says the work is done on the Trump probe and that she says, quote, we are ready to go. So they have barricades up around the courthouse in Fulton County. Fannie Willis is the DA. She said in a local news interview that she will announce charging decisions by September 1st in her investigations into efforts by Donald Trump and allies to overturn Georgia's 2020 presidential election result. Um, so they're already ramping up security measures around the courthouse in Fulton County. The work is accomplished, she said. We've been working for 2.5 years on this investigation, she said. We are ready to go. The previous thought was that she was going to make any charging announcements between today, July 31st, and the end of August. So now she says, pardon me, that it's September 1st. So it seems, I mean, I know it's another month to wait, but all of these charges are really kind of coming one after the other. Boom, boom, boom. She praised the sheriff's department, who is putting up barricades around the county courthouse. She said, I think the sheriff is doing something smart and making sure the courthouse stays safe. I'm not willing to put any of the employees or constituents that come to the courthouse in harm's way at all. But there are security threats. Um, she said, I am sending to you, in case you're unclear on what I and my staff have become accustomed to over the last 2.5 years. This is an email that she sent to the officials in Fulton County. She said, I'm sending it to you as a reminder that you should stay alert over the month of August and stay safe. Please make decisions that keep your staff safe because people are threatening them, just like they threatened, we saw in the January 6th testimony, the poll workers. And anybody that had anything negative to say about Trump or asked any questions about whether the Constitution was being followed or had any mm, ideas that went contrary to what Trump and Trump's allies wanted to push. If you spoke out against it, immediate threats made to you. 2.5 years this investigation is going on. Imagine the threats to the Georgia DA's office. But by September 1st, we'll know that. And I mean, I don't, that's the case where we have recordings of the phone conversation, right? I just need to find 11,780. I mean, how blatant, obvious, just unashamed that was, you know? I if they don't come to the podium, Fanny and friends, on September 1st with a litany of charges, I will be disappointed, very disappointed in this country. So, so that is happening. That is the timeline. That is what we can expect. Let's pop into the chat and see what you have to say. Um, oh, thank you, Gordon, reminding everybody to click the like button. Thank you. There are a lot of people here right now, and if you all just take a moment to click that thumbs up button, I would really, really appreciate it. YouTube loves it, makes them think we're doing good things, and I believe that we are. Yeah. Gordon also regarding the Trump case says, yeah, that one's so open and shut. That's how it seems to me. We'll see what Fanny has found out. We'll see what her investigation has uncovered. She sure has taken a while to make sure that everything is done by the book, right? So, recent days have shown us how aging um, rears its ugly head, especially for people that are in the public eye. So we saw Mitch McConnell do that whole freezing up, unable to speak at the microphone for 30 seconds or so. He comes back, makes a joke about being sandbagged as President Biden had tripped over a sandbag in the recent past, and says he's fine. Everything's totally fine. I would argue that President Biden tripping is way different than freezing up like this. Now we know that it's not the first time this has happened to him, where he has some episode like this. Then we saw Senator Dianne Feinstein from California, who couldn't kind of keep with the program. Instead of just voting like she was supposed to, she thought it was her turn to speak and launched into a diatribe, had to be told multiple times by colleagues and staffers, say yay, just say yay, just vote. All caught on camera, in the most unflattering of episodes, in these moments that most people have in privacy, where your mind starts to go, or you start having physical problems, and you don't have to be on camera in front of the world as they watch your decline. That's the sad part of it. Well, Nikki Haley, who is a Republican presidential candidate, of course, served in the Trump administration, right, as the former ambassador to the United Nations. She is now calling for term limits. She said Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and other elected officials should know when to walk away and make room for new leadership. She was on CBS News, um, and she was talking about, and she's only 51. She's saying the McConnell incident is one of a series of concerning moments for aging lawmakers in Congress. And her quote is this: I think Mitch McConnell did an amazing job when it comes to our judiciary. When we look at judges, when we look at the Supreme Court, he's been a great leader. We disagree, Nikki, very much so. But I do think, she says, we've got to stop electing people because they look good in the picture or they hold a baby well. We've got to stop electing people because we like them and they've been there a long time, she said. We've got to have a new generation. What I'm saying, she writes, about Mitch McConnell, Dianne Feinstein, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, all of them know when to walk away. I mean, Nancy Pelosi gave the speakership to someone else. Probably didn't have to. I think Not everybody ages at the same pace in the same way. So how can you tell someone that does an excellent job, has so much experience, um, does exactly what their party needs them to do for whatever reason, that it's time to hang it up? And also, conversely, how can you count on them with maybe cognitive decline or other issues to know when it's time? I've seen elderly people voluntarily give up a driver's license, but I don't think it happens very often. I think something bad has to happen first, or family members have to step in and say, you know what? When I was driving with you, you blew through a couple of stop signs. That's what happened to my grandfather. I'm in the car with him. And I am not, I think at this point, maybe I would just started driving and we're roaring through stop signs. And I'm thinking, this is dangerous. This isn't good. It wasn't long after that that he stopped driving. But it's hard to tell people that. It's hard to get people to feel that way about themselves because sometimes I think when they admit that they've lost the skill that will give them freedom, like driving, or they've lost the ability to work effectively, it means the acceptance of their own mortality and that it's not too far away. Nobody wants to feel that way, right? And so I understand why it would take time for someone to come to that realization, but I think it should happen more quickly when things like this are caught on camera, especially for, people that are in leadership and in the public eye. In this one instance, I don't know if Nikki Haley is wrong. Although I will say that it has been what she is saying, she's calling for term limits, and it's been called unconstitutional, ageist. But what do we do with people who their time to check out and they just don't see it? She said we have to have a new generation. And she's talking about both Democrats and Republicans here. What I'm saying about Mitch McConnell, Dianne Feinstein, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, know when to walk away, know when to walk away. We have huge issues that need solutions. We need a new generational leaders. We appreciate your service. We appreciate what you've done, but this is why we will fight for term limits. But then, and I know some people will argue, but I think this is political and not based in reality. You've got someone like Joe Biden, who looks to me very healthy, probably in better physical shape than I am. The guy can run all the way down a walkway across a stage, talk at a microphone without even being winded. So you have someone that, you know, maybe they're slowing down, but they're still totally fine to work. And then you have others that are having these episodes. What to do? How do we fix that? Right now, we just kind of let people go, "Oh, that's too bad. I guess they'll figure it out eventually." Is there a way that, when this happens, something can be invoked, with signing off by what 10 doctors say this person probably is not mentally fit? I don't know how that would work. I don't know. And whether you think term limits are the way to handle it or whether it should just be left like it is, When you're older, you'll come to the realization that either you'll have an accident or you give up your driver's license. Or, someone at work will say, Harold isn't really with it anymore. I think we should really keep our eye on him. How does this work? How does this work? John writes, airlines do this all the time. Pilots at the top of their game are forced out of commercial aviation. Yeah, you hit an age limit, you're out, which is a real bummer too, because some people are totally fine to keep going. The downsides outweigh the benefits of keeping these pilots and lawmakers around. Mm. Mindy writing, someone staring into space and having an episode is not eligible material for an important position in government. I mean, I would agree. I would agree. Gordon says, my mom knew when it was time to stop driving. My father did not and died. I'm sorry, Gordon, about that. I really am. John says people can judge for themselves who is fit for office and who isn't. You're saying leave it in the hands of the voters? Gordon talking about a cognitive test instead of term limits. Lisa, hi Lisa, says there should be term limits. John says no, we have to vote for who we want to. Nobody should be telling people they can't vote for someone for any reason at all. If we want someone in there that, we like, maybe we know their staffers can handle it. They know where all the bodies are buried. They get things done, even though maybe they have a hard time voting and have to be prompted. Nick, sounds like Haley's campaign is scrambling to find a way to separate her and pull in some moderate votes. Yeah. Gordon says she is old, no big deal. She's not running again. Are you talking about I think you're talking about Dianne Feinstein. Yeah. President Obama, Vice President Al Gore have a beachfront property. Oh, you're talking about homes sliding into the cliffs? Well, anyone with beachfront property should be like, And that used to be my dream, was living on the beach in Hawaii. It still kind of is. But I think before buying anything, you would have to really think about it, right? Yeah. Talking about the previous story. John says if you think Dianne Feinstein is not capable, don't vote for her in the primaries. It really is a dangerous telling people who they can and who they cannot vote for. Mindy writing that President Biden has Vice President Kamala Harris. If anything happens to him, it won't be a problem. She can just step in and go. Yeah. Eric says we're going to end up with a government run by floating heads in jars because people just don't want to give it up. Yeah, for any reason at all. President Ford says SF Tesla had the White House press room made into a swimming pool because he swam daily in it. Okay. Sandy says President Biden seems perfectly capable to me. To me too, Sandy. I don't understand people who think he's too old. Besides, he's only a little older than Trump. Trump supporters don't think Trump is too old. Yeah, what's 2, 3 years among friends? It's true. John Slade, Congress can vote to remove someone if they can't do the job. I don't know when that's been invoked. I don't think they do that often. Um, but maybe it's a, you know, maybe it's an option. I have to look into it, John. Thank you. Sandy says a lot of Eric writes to Sandy, a lot of people mock President Biden's speech as being dementia, but it's really just stuttering. That's true. He has a stutter. Can you imagine being senator, a vice president, and a president and dealing with a stutter? Commendable. And I think he's doing great with that. And that's nonpartisan. I mean, I would say that of a Republican, someone who has a stutter and overcoming it, like the King's Speech. I don't know if you saw that movie. Mindy says, I think President Biden's biggest problem is his son and the Trump problem that keeps returning to haunt him. Mm. John says, look at Strom Thurmond. For years, they just propped him up and let him sit there. Was it okay then and not okay now? Were we willing to accept it then? Because, the person in the past had done some great things and, they're considered a great patriot and they've done so much for their district and for America. Just prop them up and we'll figure it out. Mm-mm. SF Tesla says no need to worry about catching a chill in Hawaii. Just warm yourself by the volcano or view the fireworks at nighttime. Yeah. Well, I don't know where we're going with this, and I don't know if anything will be done or if we just kind of talk about it and then it's one of these things where you're like, yeah, maybe somebody should do something. Yeah, maybe there should be a term limit, maybe there should be an age range, maybe maybe we should have some type of cognitive test and then we move on. Then nothing. And maybe that's good because as some were saying in the chat, maybe we leave it up to the voters and we let people decide what we're willing to accept and what we're not willing to accept, and that's how we sort it out. Let's talk about the huge X sign. You saw this earlier. The X on top of the Twitter building. that was shining into the windows of all the people nearby and flashing in a strobe-like way. Well, they didn't have a permit to put the X up. Surprise! So workers are removing Elon Musk's X from the headquarters rooftop now. It was up and now it's down. They say, according to SF Gate, flouted permit rules and angered nearby residents with this massive flashing X on the top of the X or Twitter headquarters. And now today, workers are taking that sign down and dismantling it. SF Gate reporting that at 9 o'clock this morning, two workers in lifts were detangling wires from the structure's metal frame and pulling away its light up panels. By noon, the large black X vanished from the rooftop. The sign was up for less than 3 days, but it was long enough for Musk to get up a viral video and for X, which used to be Twitter, representatives to twice deny a city inspector to access the rooftop on the building in San Francisco. They came Friday, the inspectors, they came Saturday, and no, they were denied, turned away. The X was apparently built without a permit very close to the edge, the rooftop edge on Market Street. It went up on Friday. An inspector filed a complaint calling it unsafe. The department opened an investigation. Um, they say when you put up a sign like this, you have to make sure that it's consistent with the historic nature of the building. A flashing neon sign is not, as well as safe. It has to be safe. We like that. We don't want the X falling on people, right? Um, he said, this inspector said he explained the building inspection division's investigation process. He requested access to the roof. A Twitter rep said, nope, sorry, you can't come up. And that it's a temporary lighted sign for an event. It didn't look temporary to me, but okay. They came back Saturday. They were denied again by the tenant. That's the Twitter folks, the X folks rather. And then Elon Musk, then Saturday night, that night, that the second turning away of the inspector, he posted a video, which I guess is now pinned to the top of his Twitter profile, with a strobing white light that I guess was beaming into the apartments of people that live nearby, and people were upset about it. So now it's gone. Now it's dismantled. It's over. The lights were the first thing to go today. Workers lift the panels, pulled away the X. Um, the old Twitter sign has already been taken down too. That was the one that hung off the side of the building. That's gone. And the block on which it said Twitter with a bird is blank. So I don't know what they're going to do now, but whatever they do, you have to pull a permit with the city to make it happen. I mean, I think that, you know, do we not think that's important? So the people that live near Twitter no longer have the flashing strobe lights of the X um, shining into their bedroom window all night long. Sayonara, sucker. You're out. I'm going to the chat. Let's see what you guys have to say. Let's see. Looking at you guys are still talking about the GOP a lot and volcanoes. Let's see. Karen says, is Musk a joke or what? He's getting weird and weirder and weirder. Maybe he's always been a little weird, but it just seems like now he's going off the deep end. SF Tesla, who does he think he is? Batman firing off the bat signal? That would have been cool, actually, right? If it was a bat signal, people would have been like, yeah. Elon's big X is really vulgar. Get rid of it. It's gone. John, of course, Elon is going to play the victim here. Good for the X down. It was really wrong. Kim says, yeah, the X is gone. Get rid of the X. Square says, obviously not permanent, just proof of concept. The universal angle iron was not the final mount. Oh, okay. Well, it looked pretty permanent to me. I don't know. Maybe you know more about how to build things and construct them and such. Elon thinks, Mindy says Elon thinks like Trump, and Gordon says Elon acts like Trump, that he's above the law. SF Tesla says it's too dangerous for me watching for falling X's. I'll take my chance with O's, hoping to be in the middle, like tic tac toe, away you go. That's funny. X does not mark the spot, says Kim. Nick writing, Musk is also threatening a lawsuit against researchers studying a rise in hate speech since he bought Twitter. I mean, you can threaten to sue them, but the data is the data and it's public, right? I mean, you can see which posts are coming up, coming up. He can try to hide data, but as far as I know, everything posted on Twitter, we can all see. Sandy says she just call it triple X. Lisa writes, Elon just likes to keep himself in the news. You think it's all a publicity stunt, Lisa? You think he did it unpermitted on purpose so he would have a way to be in the news? I don't know. PT, Musk is a twit for renaming Twitter to X. I know, what a branding nightmare. Renaming Twitter to Twitter X to designate the new ownership might have been passable, but I still think it sucks. That would have been better, probably, right? I mean, then you don't get rid of the when I just don't get it. When you have a name like, Google it, right? A name that now becomes a verb or it's part of our lexicon, our language, and you have something like Twitter where people are like, "Well, why don't you just tweet it?" Have you been on Twitter? It's just it's so ingrained. And I don't that's kind of money that you can't buy. You have to be on the ground floor of some type of thing. You have to be the first box of Kleenex or, the first soda or whatever it is for the thing to be actually called what the brand name is called. So I don't get renaming the name. I know he's really into the letter X, but still it's weird. Twitter is messed up, says Mindy. Great job, Elon. Gordon, Trump does that. Lawsuits. Lawsuits. Yes, lawsuits. He could rename it to X Twitter. I mean, Louis, I see what you're saying. I like Twitter X better. I don't know. X Twitter kind of sounds like an ex-girlfriend, an ex-company you used to work for, right? SF Tesla says X Hood district may think they score some kind of victory for downing the big X Twitmart sign, but do they realize barking Dogecoin sign can keep them up all night too? I don't know. I haven't heard about the barking Dogecoin sign. Maybe they have to turn it off at a certain hour of the day. Gordon says, I don't tweet, especially since I'm not a bird. Square says someone said it cost $10K to build and install, probably $5K to remove the X. How wasteful. Or maybe not. If you're looking for a publicity stunt, maybe that's cheap by those standards. Twitter or X has more users than ever. Does it? I thought a lot of people left the platform. A lot of people were trying out the new Instagram, Facebook, Meta. What is it? Threads? John says, just tried to buy a Blu-ray of Pee-wee's Big Adventure and it sold out everywhere. Yeah, that's because Pee-wee Herman, otherwise known as Paul Rubens, passed away, as what we are hearing today. So Mindy wants to X out Elon. I'm sure in the most non-physical of ways you mean that, right? Karen says, I'm glad I couldn't care less about Musk, Twitter X, or anything related to Musk. Yeah, if you were a fan of Twitter or it would kind of be a disappointment, I think. I don't know. He seems like he's getting attention, deflects from the real issues with X. Good comments. Love it. All right, let's see what time it is. Oh, just a couple minutes away from news. Maybe I'll do some news first. What do you guys think? And then we'll get back into some other stories. Let's do that. Should I try to I'll try to play the um before I do that, let me thank Luis. $9.99, a $10 super sticker. Can't wait for the after party. I always enjoyed you and John's on-air participation at Station Elon. So cool you'll be front and center co-hosting your own show. Yeah, John and I are really excited. I have to tell you though, we're both a little nervous too. I mean, I know I fill in a lot, and I shouldn't be, but when you're presenting something to people and you want them to like it, you want to plan out a good show for people, you want to figure out what it's going to be about, you have all these, I don't know, this kind of anxiety, is it going to be good enough? So I'm just sharing that with you because it's the truth, and I really hope so. It's the after party live. It's again on from 1 to 2 p.m. starting tomorrow, and it's John Daly and myself. And I'm really excited and also nervous at the same time. I hope you'll join us. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do that. If John Daly is around, hopefully he'll put the link up in the chat. But you can also go to theafterparty.live and find us that way. And I'm sure tomorrow before the show, before Mark's show ends, we'll post the link to the show to click over in the chat as well. So I do hope that you will join us for that. Gordon says I'll do just fine. Thank you. Karen says we're just looking forward to the after party. I hope so. Yeah, it's good to be nervous, Nick, before a show. It's true. I think I just have to be as open and honest with you guys as we screw up and muddle our way through things as possible. But we'll keep it going. Yeah, I like him too. He's really funny and kind. But again, Luis, thank you so much for the support. Not only for the support, also for the contribution to Nikki's show and your really kind words. I really appreciate that so much. It means a lot as we kind of start this new thing that we are both a little nervous about. So, um, PT says, just ask John Rothman to appear on your show. You won't have to worry about filling the hour. That's true. I will not be stealing any of Mark Thompson's guests, though. And John Rothman is a Mark Thompson guest. So I will not be trying to poach him, but I might try to poach Pat Thurston. I don't think she's declared allegiance one way or the other. So I might try to do that. But thank you very much for those comments. Okay, so now I'm going to try to do some news, and I have to play my little theme, and I'm by myself, so bear with me. Here it is, and yes.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
All right. Well, Hunter Biden's former business associate is expected to testify on Capitol Hill today. His name is Devin Archer, and he is appearing before the House Oversight Committee to be questioned about any foreign ventures.
From around the world to up your street.
No, I was going to screw it up. It was too good to be true. Thought I could pull it off. Couldn't. But again, so Devin Archer will be questioned about foreign ventures and any of his meetings with Hunter Biden. There is this historic heat wave that is still ongoing. It is keeping a grip on the Southwest. Heat indexes, which factor in humidity, could soar above triple digits this week across states like Texas, Louisiana, and Florida. Yet another reason not to live there. Cooler weather in the forecast from the northern plains to the Midwest, though, so at least there's that. Former President Trump says he'll be indicted any day now as part of the investigation into his efforts to stay in power after the 2020 election. In a Truth Social post, Trump called it election interference and prosecutorial misconduct. Special counsel Jack Smith's investigating Trump's role in the 2021 Capitol riot and repeated false claims about the election being rigged. That's what you think. Election interference and prosecutorial misconduct. Sounds like election interference was the original crime in the first place. And we just mentioned it a couple minutes ago, but again, the actor best known for portraying Pee Wee Herman has died. Comedian Paul Reubens was 70. He had been undergoing treatment for cancer. He's credited with starring in the TV series Pee Wee's Playhouse from 1986 to 1990. And he parlayed that into 2 movies as well. He also had minor roles in a number of films and TV shows. So Paul Reubens passes away at the age of 70. Gas prices hitting an 8-month high. The national average for a gallon of regular unleaded hit $3.75 a gallon over the weekend, which is a big jump from the previous week. Industry experts say prices could go even higher if there are refinery issues or hurricane affects oil production in the Gulf of Mexico. So we'll see how that goes. Marvel Studios releasing the first trailer for the 2nd season of its series Loki. Did you guys see that? That's actually kind of good. Tom Hiddleston once again reprises his role as the god of mischief. Loki as he works with the Time Variance Authority to stop variants from causing chaos through the multiverse. The new season features 6 episodes. It starts streaming on Disney Plus on October 6th. I know people often looking for things to watch, and so Loki is coming. Um, there's a breakthrough in organ transplants. The Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates is announcing a breakthrough for transporting donor organs. The group announced today the first ever donor kidney was successfully flown unattended from Kentucky to the University of Mississippi Medical Center earlier this month. Usually, a medical team has to fly with an organ requiring a perfusion pump. But a grant from the Kidney Transplant Collaborative has funded new technology allowing an organ to be transported unattended. That's a pretty big deal. I talked earlier on Mark Thompson's show about the Scrabble Championship, and I'm still miffed about this. Scrabble's my game. I don't know about you guys. I like it. Well, I'll play Scrabble if anyone in my family will play with me, which sometimes they won't. But but I really like Words with Friends. So it's kind of probably I'll do it, here and there as I'm waiting for something. If I'm waiting to pick up a kid or, before bed, I'll take a couple turns type of thing. And Words with Friends is much like Scrabble. There is an Australian man that has won the Scrabble World Championship. His name is David Eldar. He won $10,000 and bragging rights after besting his opponent at the World Scrabble Championship in Las Vegas this weekend. They had 132 players or more compete for the title over the course of the 4-day event. Eldar played some words like Thrismus, I haven't heard of that, and Society, but he ultimately ended his final word with the word women, WOMEN. So, congratulations to him. You always think, scratch that. I always think I'm such a good Scrabble player until I play someone that just thumps the holy heck out of me. My friend, and you may know her from KGO, Jenna Lane. I had a hard time beating Jenna Lane in Scrabble. Other KGO staffers, though, that was no problem. But Jenna Lane, she can bring it. Let me tell you. Okay, so that is the news on the Nikki Maduro show. And again, the show is crowdfunded. Thank you to Luis for the super sticker. It was so appreciated. Again, we're also at the where we have our PayPal and our Patreon link. So I will mention that. Um, I'm sorry, I left that chat up way too long, way too long. Um, yeah, so sorry, train of thought ruined. The Patreon link, PayPal link, you'll find it all there. And a genuine thank you for all the ways that you support the show. That Nikki and I will be moving to 9 in the morning starting tomorrow. Um, let's talk about this story. I don't know if you guys had seen it. There's so much that this is a story out of SF Gate as well. They say there's so much migration from the Bay Area to Sacramento. They're calling it now a mega region. So, um, I guess a lot of people are moving to the Sacramento area because it's just more affordable. The Bay Area, they say the Bay Area exodus may be a myth, but the trend of people moving inland, leaving coastal areas in search of more space at better prices keeps growing. There are more people moving to Sacramento from the Bay Area, writes SF Gate, than anywhere else in the country. They looked at Redfin data. They said people moving from the Bay Area to Sacramento isn't a new thing, but that the pandemic really sped up the process, and that experts are saying it was really inevitable anyway, but it could have long-lasting effects on the state. In 2020, migration between the San Francisco County and Sacramento County grew 70% from the previous year. The Sacramento region is projected to grow another 4% in the next 5 years, largely because of this migration from people leaving the Bay Area. It's expensive to live here. We just talked to Mr. St. Paul living in Foster City about how rents there are more expensive than even in San Francisco. It's crazy how expensive. And SF Gate looks at certain experiences of a couple living in a one-bedroom condo in Oakland. and they started working from home in their condo, and they realized, If we're going to be here all day together, we need a bigger space. And if we need a bigger space, it's going to cost more, and we can't afford more." So they started looking in the East Bay for spots. They were met with everybody else trying to do the same thing. The man said it was a very competitive market. Everything was going well over, sometimes 50% over asking price. And a friend who just moved to Sacramento asked them to come up for a visit, and they said they fell in love with Sacramento. The culture of the city, all the trees, um, it's a town, but a city at the same time. Pardon me. And so people like it. Um, and they're not alone. Sacramento's population grew 26% between 2000 and 2019. So as Sacramento during that time frame grew 26%, the Bay Area grew 14.6%. A study done by USC, Occidental College, and UC Davis says the increased migration could be creating a mega region, breaking down barriers that traditionally separated the Bay Area from Sacramento. So now instead of the Bay Area, when you get to the Vacaville line, we're now in the Sacramento region. Is it just going to be one thing? Is it just going to be one, you know, metropolitan region? Usually, one metropolitan region like the Bay Area will have its own local media. There's local media in Sacramento, local media in the Bay Area. Do we combine it all, or do we keep it separate? It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. The mega region, they say, and the resulting demographic shifts will have an outsized impact on traffic and infrastructure, creating new needs for California's future. The study showed there was a small dip in the proportion of people commuting to the Bay Area from Sacramento County. The percentage of people super commuting, defined as a commute of more than 50 miles, grew 17% in 2008 to 20% in 2018. And it grew in every Central Valley County studied. It's likely to continue as high wage earners with jobs centered in the coastal areas seek larger homes inland. I know a lot of people. There was a man that worked at KGO that lived in, I think, Manteca, and then would drive to the ACE train, take the ACE train to the BART train, take the BART train into San Francisco. People do it because they can afford to have a nice big house, with a pool and big yard and a driveway to park in. Try that in San Francisco. And and so I understand why people would do it, but boy, unless you had a work from home job, it'd be really difficult, I think. Petaluma, where I live, is 30 minutes from Petaluma to the Golden Gate Bridge, then another 30 minutes through city traffic. So that was about an hour, maybe 50 minutes away from KGO. It wasn't so bad unless it was super traffic. Um, but yeah, people do the super commuting. It's a phenomenon that is only expected to grow as more people end up moving into the Sacramento area and the surrounding suburbs. They're saying the mega region, if that happens, could stretch all the way to Fresno, past Sacramento. People are spreading out to El Dorado and Amador counties. They might face other challenges, according to this article. Like, you live in San Francisco, but then you move where it's cheaper out in, Amador County, and then you've got a fire risk. So, um, yeah. The effect of all this is rising housing costs, though, in those outlanding areas. Near Sacramento, where decades of home building shortfalls have compounded, they say, while the job market remained concentrated in city centers. So the Sacramento median home price was $475,000, up 38% from 2019. The average San Francisco home is nearly triple that. The average home in Placerville jumped 27%. Redfin says they have interviewed a real estate agent, Mike Candejas. He says it's always people coming from the Bay Area to Sacramento. He and his wife left from the East Bay to Sacramento in 2017. He said Round about then, maybe there was 10 to 15% of buyers from the Bay Area, but when COVID hit, that number went way up to 25 or 30%. What's interesting though is now a lot of companies are having you come back to the office, right? So even if, you know, they'll do a flexible schedule, maybe you might have to come in 2 days, 3 days a week. That's a talk about a super commute. And now they're saying, maybe it's worth it because for the first time, a lot of people are able to finally own their own home. When you move to Sacramento, you can finally afford to buy something. And so it's worth that super commute. They quote a couple in their 50s who lived in the Bay Area, had never been able to afford a home in the Bay Area. When the pandemic hit, they left their one bedroom apartment in Burlingame, thought about moving to Oakland, but it wasn't affordable. So they looked for a place in Sacramento. And 2 years ago, they bought a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home with a front yard and a backyard for less than their budget. And I don't know why you wouldn't move, right? One woman said she makes the super commute back to the peninsula and stays with her mom in San Mateo for a few days every week, and then goes back home to her own house in Sacramento. One of the things that one of the people who moved away from the Bay Area to Sac says she didn't expect to find is a thriving arts community there. That in Oakland was kind of used to be that way and then had declined because of the housing crisis. So the worry is though that people are going to try to somehow recreate a Bay Area experience in Sacramento. I think Sacramento has its own flavor. I don't think it needs to be the Bay Area. It has something of its own. There are, rivers, American River, it's fun. There's the beautiful bridge, there's the Capitol. Sacramento has a lot going for it. Sacramento is also very hot, hotter than the Bay Area. And I don't it's not my first choice because I feel happier when I'm somewhat near the sea. Where I am right now in Petaluma, it's easy for me to just head out to Bodega Bay or, to head to any beach in Marin or, seeing the ocean when I drive over the Golden Gate Bridge on the way to the Taylor Swift concert. When I lived in Davis, I really missed that. I missed being by the sea. Now, do I miss being by the sea enough so that if I was not able to afford a home, I wouldn't move there so that I could finally afford one? No, I think that's really important. You have to do what's right for your family. I'm sorry to see so many people go. Um, yeah. I guess a lot of people lived in Sacramento, moved to the Bay Area for either school or work, and then ended up moving back because of the affordability. The remote work opening the door for a lot of people to move back to Sacramento. So I don't know. Are we going to see a mega region? What do you guys think? Is that a possibility here at all? Let's see what you have to say in that. Let's go to the chat. Let's see what you guys have to say. Lori says it's too hot. I'd spend money on air conditioning and add that to the rent. I did not have air conditioning. There was a little tiny air conditioner in my Davis apartment. I lived on D Street in Davis. Nick, thank you for asking. Um, and I had an apartment with a bunch of windows, and it's a 2 bedroom apartment I had with a roommate there, and a little patio. And I set up misters on the patio because the air conditioning never worked. And as many times as I asked for it to be fixed, it didn't make much of a difference. It was really, really hot there. Um, I agree with you, Lori. I'm a Bay Area girl. That's true. Square says, yeah, I don't like the heat. Somewhere beyond the sea. Yeah. Love Davis, very bicycle friendly. Davis is a really cute town. I would say homes in Davis are probably not at the same affordable rate that they are in Sacramento, but probably more affordable than the Bay Area. Yeah. Yeah, I was right in downtown. Well, a little off, but I could walk to downtown. It was cool. Definitely a college town. Fun place to be. Luis writes, super commute equals super awful. So years ago, my husband worked for a company that was bought by Google, and Google took them in as workers. And so here we are in Petaluma, and he had to drive to Mountain View. This is kind of before remote work or anything like that. Drive to Mountain View, and he would leave really early in the morning. So he'd get there in like maybe hour and 45 minutes, hour and a half from Petaluma to Mountain View, but it's the way home because there's traffic in the South Bay, and then there's traffic in the city, and then there's traffic in the North Bay. And depending on whether there's an accident or something that happened, it could take anywhere from 2.5 hours, 3 hours on a good day to 4 or 5 hours on a bad day to get home from Mountain View. It was miserable. So, as good as the job was, I mean, you have to think of your life, right? And what you're spending your time doing and your overall happiness. Nick writes, I know a cop with OPD lives in Sacramento, knew another officer who commuted from Antioch to Half Moon Bay. Whew. Yeah. Yes, that is correct. Satrilicious. Did I say it? Satirelicious. Nikki is at her second job today. So that is why I'm filling in. She will be here tomorrow for the time change. So we will be doing that together. Karen writes, I have relatives who have been longtime Sacramento residents. It has always been hot in the summer, but with global warming, I bet it will be tolerable. Or you mean, oh, intolerable. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to get worse, right? Um, Lori says it will be too expectorant to live in Sacramento. That's the spitting comment. I got it. Okay, I hear you, Nick. That's funny. SF Tesla says it must be the Jelly Belly factory because the beer factory's business is flagging. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's all about money, but sometimes it's more about lifestyle. If you can pull it off in the Bay Area and be cooler, I don't know. I don't know. Although I don't fault anybody for moving. Sacto isn't offensive like Frisco. Hmm, I'm not sure what they consider offensive in Sacramento. The Sacto smoozers lifestyle could be a stroke different than here, as you might expect. Mega region features many brewed on the premises pubs, beer tasting, wine tasting. That doesn't sound bad. As a child, I lived on I Street in Davis for a few years. Oh, nice. Okay. Our weather now reminds me of Los Angeles, feels weirdly desert like. Eileen says Lori and Karen, Sacramento and its surrounding cities are way too hot. John says Davis is expensive compared to Sac because it's a college town. Yeah. Eric says Google doesn't want their employees to have a life outside work. It's why they put laundry gyms in their offices. It's true. They want you to stay there. They want you to eat there, do your laundry there, so that, in between you're working, you're never leaving. It's true. Karen says, when I worked at SGI, which is now occupied by Google, there were a lot of guys who commuted from Sacramento. They drove in their mobile homes and trailers and stayed 5 days on site. But how sad is it that they have to do that, that we can't live at least somewhat near where we work, that people are having to completely change their lifestyles and live in a parking lot in order to get a good job? Yeah, and they drove home on the weekends. Nick says the whole Central Valley too hot. Live on the borders and slightly more tolerable. I always used to think that when I'd hear you know, the ads on KGO for, move to Mountain House or move to this new community near Mountain House or Lodi or Stockton. Not that those places aren't lovely to live in, but hot, hot, hot. Like you're living on the surface of the sun out there. Lori says commuting is a cumulative stress. It doesn't seem super bad at first, but after a couple of years, you find your gums are receding from gritting your teeth 4 hours during the commute. Yeah, to him, I mean, who leaves a job at Google, right? It wasn't a happy lifestyle. Didn't like his boss, didn't like the commute. It wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So Lisa says, I have a coworker that commutes from Davis to the Bay. He rides his bike from the train stations. Wow, must be really in shape. I did that for a while. When I first started at doing traffic in the KGO jetcopter, I was working at a little radio station well, not a little radio station. I was working at a radio station in Sacramento. It's called 100.5 The Zone at that time, and I don't know what it's called now. But I was working there, and then I would commute on the weekends to do these traffic shifts, and then it kind of over time became that I was getting more work in San Francisco, and so I decided to move, which is perfect for me because my whole family is Bay Area almost. So I wanted to be home, and KGO was the station that I always wanted to work for. So it was a dream come true. But I did that commute from Davis to San Francisco. It wasn't easy. It's heat, 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 heat until right about you get to El Cerrito, and then you crack open the window and you get the cool. Sud Works in Davis, yes. I would never have graduated if that place had been there when I was going to UC Davis. Sud Work is a cool place. I commuted OCB rights from the East Bay to Mountain View. It was bad then in the 90s. Can't imagine doing it now. No, again, I mean, there's something to be said for living a life that gives you joy. And I'm sorry, but sitting in the car for 4 hours is not joy. Um, Davis is expensive because it's on the I-80 corridor. There's a lot of Bay Area traffic moving through there. I think it has more to do with it being a college town, but perhaps. Sandy says, it feels like the sun is getting closer. The heat is so intense, it just feels different. Yeah. I am too, but I'm from here, so I'm from Petaluma. Although my parents are divorced, so I went to high school in Santa Cruz. So I kind of have allegiance to both areas. And I lived in San Francisco for a few years. I have to say I really enjoyed that. I didn't want to move out, but I couldn't buy a place in San Francisco. I could barely buy a place in Petaluma. And if I had to buy it today, I wouldn't be able to afford it at all. So um yeah, thank you for the comments on that. Will we see a mega region? Very interesting to think of that. I mean, we're all kind of related. We're all Californians. Most of us know people that have moved to the Sacramento region, but we keep it separate. Do we drop the Bay Area border and just, call it something different? I don't know. I don't know. Um, oh, we're talking about this. Coming up on news again. We were talking about this case. We've been, when it first broke, it was a huge story. Remember the Cash App founder, Bob Lee, and he was stabbed to death in the middle of the night on a San Francisco street? Well, now it's time for trial. And so the prosecutor's office is laying out their case against this tech consultant, who's charged in the murder. And the judge is going to decide if there's enough evidence to move this to trial. I'd kind of be surprised if there wasn't, but this is our system and this is how it is. Lee created Cash App, which is a mobile payment service, and he was the chief product officer of the cryptocurrency mobile coin as well. He was allegedly murdered by Nima Momeni, who has been sitting in jail since the death on April. He has pleaded not guilty. If he is convicted, it will be 26 years to life. Remember Lee was stabbed kind of in the middle of the night on a street that, I mean, during the day would have been trafficky, but it was desolate at that time of night. Uh, yeah. Momeni has been detained in jail without bail. Prosecutors say he planned the attack. He drove Lee to a secluded spot and he stabbed him 3 times after a dispute related to Momeni's younger sister. He used a knife, allegedly, that was very unique and part of his sister's kitchen set. There's DNA evidence. So it'll be interesting to see this trial and what happens with it. It seems to me like they just have a monstrous amount of evidence in this case. So I don't know. There is a wildfire burning. It seemed like we had so much rain that maybe our wildfire season was going to start a little later. Yeah, no. Uh, this is California's largest wildfire. Right now, it's burning in the Mojave National Preserve. 70,000 acres it has burned through so far of juniper and Joshua tree woodland. That as of Saturday night. It's called the York Fire. It across the state line into Nevada Sunday, sent smoke into the Las Vegas Valley, and it fanned flames that reached 20 feet high over the weekend. It's a big one. The extreme fire conditions caused this phenomenon called fire whirls. It formed over the fire's north side of the national preserve. They posted an image of this on Sunday. The fire whirls or fire nados, they say, are fascinating to watch, but really dangerous because they can change direction suddenly and throw embers over a long period, a long distance. Let me show you one of the pictures they have of these fire whirls. It's scary when it gets so hot and it gets so windy that this is the kind of thing that happens. Again, my thanks to SF Gate for the story and the photo. Look at that. That's a fire whirl, like a fire NATO. Mm. So here it comes, the York fire, churning, burning, with the fire whirl, fire NATO situation going on. I don't know if they have any containment on this fire or when they expect to have any containment on this fire. I'm not sure. But it's always interesting to see the fire behavior like that. So they say the fire nados can range in size from a few feet to several hundred feet, and their rotational speed can vary widely. It's kind of freaky. Yeah. It's so sad to see these areas burning like this. I have to show you more. I have to bring this back up so I can show you the photos. I'm telling you guys, I don't know. I mean, I think we have more growth. So maybe we could see more fire activity in the Bay Area this year. I'm not sure how it's all going to work out. But here, take a look at this video of what's going on with the York fire. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, that's some look at the devastation there. So much is gone. So that's the York fire. Again, that is burning in the desert area. Let's see. Sorry, I made it big and now I have to make it small again. But that I don't know if I haven't seen any estimates as to, is this going to be a bad fire season? Is this going to be, a regular fire season? Is this going to be less of a fire season because we had all that rain or more or what? But you see that with 70,000 acres in the Mojave National Preserve, burning juniper trees, burning Joshua trees. It's just kind of a sad situation there. Um, there was a social media post made by a climate scientist from UCLA. His name is Daniel Swain. He said it's atypical for California's largest wildfire of the season so far to occur in the southeastern desert region. But he says experts predicted big fires would burn in the desert regions this year because of the wet winter that promoted grass growth in desert areas. Also, they said the monsoon season was drier than usual in the Mojave. And then the grass took off in the winter and then has been able to dry out a bit. He says, Mr. Swain, that given an exceptionally wet winter and cool spring, larger fires in sparsely vegetated areas that are typically fuel limited would be expected this year because of extra vegetation growth and the conditions there. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but this is a big fire that they're already working on that. I think usually fires around here, we see the big ones in September, October, but I think we need to watch a little earlier this year for that to happen. Well, because it is the Nikki Maduro show, I would feel remiss in not mentioning Taco Bell. They had this they have this cheesy taco. You remember Nikki talked about this cheese dipping taco that launches nationwide on August 3rd. It's called the birria, Birria, the birria taco. Well, it's temporary. It's not going to be here forever. If you care, it is available August 3rd, and it looks like it is leaving. Let's see. It's $3.49. I can tell you that. They also have the Mexican pizzas, which they've kept around. But yeah, it's not, they don't give me a date. They say it's not going to be here forever. but it will be here on August 3rd. So if you care about the Taco Bell cheese dipping taco, be aware this is the case. I don't know. All right. It's past news time. So let me do a little bit of news. And then we'll talk a little bit more about some other stories of the day. And let me see if I can click over to my news theme again and not play it twice this time, you guys. Okay, you ready? Here it is.
Show presents.
Nope. Mm-mm. Let's try it one more time. Nope, now it's not working. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, because the volume. All right. Let it play out again. It's not going to reset. Well, that's troublesome. Let's see.
Now, from
There.
around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Okay, I'm not going to let the music roll. Sorry you have to see me like this, you guys. It's a such sad situation when I'm by myself. A Hunter Biden friend, as we mentioned earlier, an associate, is contradicting President Biden's stance that he has never been involved in his son's business. In a closed door hearing today, Devin Archer told members of Congress that the president was on more than 20 different business calls with Hunter Biden in order to, in his words, sell the brand. Democrats in the meeting say while he was on the phone, Archer's testimony never indicated that the president directly impacted any of his son's dealings. So we'll see what happens with this. The Biden administration is withholding funds for schools that have hunting and archery training programs. Fox News confirming the White House is blocking the funding based on its interpretation of new legislation that bans funds from being used on training in the use of a dangerous weapon. Republican Congressman Tom Tiffany of Wisconsin says students should not be pawns for Joe Biden's misguided crusade against American sportsmen. But yeah, that's happening. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It doesn't seem to me that archery would be a sport that we would have to ban, but if that means that we don't also then have lessons where we teach children how to open fire, then I think maybe that's not such a bad idea. Poison control experts are warning parents about lead poisoning, what they're calling the summer disease. Lead paint chips, paint dust, and dirt contaminated with the deadly element are common ways that kids ingest the substance. 1 million kids affected by lead poisoning. It is 100% preventable. In the summer, loose, dry soil may result in an increased risk in children who play outside in the dirt on hot, dry days. So, sad situation in Malibu today. A body found this morning inside of a 55-gallon drum that washed right up onto the beach in Malibu. Investigators with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department are on the sand in Malibu right now, checking this out and investigating. No information has been provided about the gender or the condition of the body at this point, but the case, of course, is being investigated as a homicide. Massive sideshow happened. This one in Southern California. More than 200 vehicles doing donuts, driving on the wrong side of the road. Police responded in Tustin on with support in the air and the ground, trying to break up this giant street takeover at the District Tustin Legacy Outdoor Mall. They surrounded the group and proceeded to tow 51 vehicles and impound another 18. That's success, right? 20 tickets were written for code violations there as well. So looks like maybe some headway made in Tustin. In Stevenson Ranch, California, there's a produce quarantine that's been triggered after an invasive species of a fruit fly was discovered. It's called the yellow and black tau fruit fly, TAU, tau fruit fly. It's native to Asia. It's found north of Los Angeles in the Santa Clarita Valley community of Stevenson Ranch. More than 20 of these insects found there. It's a serious pest for California crops like avocados, citrus, varieties of squash, tomatoes, peppers. Growers are not allowed to move fruits and vegetables from the properties right now in this area. The quarantine zone stretches 79 square miles. They are serious about clamping down on this tau fly and not letting it expand or get anywhere else. Also in Los Angeles, vehicle was struck by gunfire this morning. CHP had to close down a freeway in Los Angeles. It was the 10. It happened at about 5 o'clock in the morning in the city of Terrace, which is a community in East LA. Two vehicles stopped. One was hit by bullets. Unclear, though, at this point if anyone was injured. They think it was another car to car shooting. We see that in the Bay Area too. And yeah, it's really disturbing, the freeway shooting. I was thinking about it as I was driving home from that Taylor Swift concert. I'll tell you. Plans to increase tuition within the California State University system not going over so well with students who are already strapped. A group of CSU students, faculty, and staff members met with Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis at Cal State LA last weekend to protest the proposed tuition hike. Under the current plan, tuition for CSU students would go up 6% each year over the next 5 years. Supporters say the increase is needed to help the system bridge a $1.5 billion budget gap. Students say it's already hard to pay for school and that these budget problems should not be solved by placing more hardships on students. So the full board of CSU trustees could vote on this by September. So we'll see if that happens. The search is on for suspects wanted in the beating death of a bouncer outside of a Hollywood nightclub. Police are now hoping surveillance video, along with anyone who might have been recording on their phone outside the Dragonfly Hollywood, might lead them to suspects in this incident. The victim, a 32-year-old security guard, was confronted by a large group of people outside the club. He lost his footing, and the group started kicking him and stomping on him before they fled. He later died at the hospital. It's horribly sad. In Corte Madera, Marin County, just down the road from me, police are trying to figure out who placed a bunch of racist flyers around several communities yet again. Residents in Marin County communities of Corte Madera and Larkspur woke up over the weekend to find flyers in their driveways. The leaflets had anti Semitic and racist language on them. Authorities believe they come from the same people who have dropped similar literature in other Bay Area neighborhoods over the last year. Neighbors are being asked to check home security footage to help identify any possible suspects. Yeah, people keep doing this. Just stop. There is, and I think it's important to point this out, and I worry about older folks buying into this. A threatening voicemail targeting Black children in Sacramento has more people on the edge. It's a voicemail left at the Sojourner Truth African Heritage Museum on Sunday, said there are agendas to murder Black children in the Sacramento area. Really horrifying. I would call that terrorism. You don't scare people like that. That's awful. The voicemail also talks about potentially targeting schools for mayhem. It's been turned over to Sacramento's Black Lives Matter chapter to get the word out. Meanwhile, Sacramento police say they are aware of this threatening voicemail. They haven't made any arrests, but you can be sure that it is all being investigated. So, uh, speaking of phone calls, a Southern California man is facing charges for allegedly prank calling his local sheriff's office thousands of times. Thousands of times. How is this allowed? Rialto resident Luke Dumas has been arrested after the San Bernardino County Sheriff's officials say he called the sheriff's office over 7,000 times in the span of 4 months earlier this year. Can you imagine that's all you would have to do? Like one call after one call after one call. Deputies say Dumas's calls would always come from an unknown number and were harassing and annoying. They say the prank calls also kept staff from attending to actual emergency calls as quickly as they could. This is a story. Weird. Uh, It's called bunny dumping. Have you heard about this? It's becoming a big problem in San Francisco. So, animal care and control officials say shelters all over the city of San Francisco are being inundated with rabbits showing up on their doorsteps. Many of these bunnies have been rescued from local parks after residents have just dumped them there. Officials say many of the domesticated rabbits wouldn't survive very long in the wild, and they really shouldn't just be dumped off at a person's local park. They are lowering fees for rabbit adoptions across the city in the hopes of finding good homes for what they say are floppy eared residents. But yeah, I guess they have a problem with rabbits just being dumped all over San Francisco. And so now the animal care and control is full of bunnies. Um, That's that's not good. Poor little bunnies. A lot of people buy the bunnies, for Easter and then realize, "Oh, that's a lot of work to take care of a bunny," right? Yeah. Madonna is reflecting after being hospitalized a month ago. The Queen of Pop took to Instagram over the weekend to reflect on how her loved ones are helping her heal and share a series of photos with two of her six kids. In the caption, she said, "Love from family and friends is the best medicine." She continued saying she has been seeing a side of her children that she has never before seen of them, really showing up for her. In her post, Madonna also wrote she realized how lucky she is to be alive. The singer was admitted to the ICU after developing a serious bacterial infection, as she was forced to reschedule the start of her international celebration tour in October. And that is the news on the Dickie Maduro Show. I'm Kim McAllister. Okay, I have to tell you guys, I don't have a lot of time left to launch into the story. Um, but something absolutely amazing happened, and you may have heard me mention it on Mark's show. I kind of fell into the Taylor Swift hoopla a little bit. And I have a teenager, Julia. My daughter is 14 years old today, as a matter of fact. It's her birthday. And she's a Swiftie. Um, and so I kind of started poking around at after Nikki was saying, "Oh, I'd love to take my daughter to the concert." And I know my daughter's never been to a concert. So I kind of started poking around at tickets. And of course, they're thousands of dollars, like two and three thousand dollars. And it's what's interesting is the tickets in the far back as you can get nosebleed section, are similar in price as tickets that are in better areas of the venue. Still thousands of dollars, and I just, not gonna do that. I can't do it. Can't do it, really. And then all of a sudden, in this kind of, I don't know if it's kismet, but what I will say is absolute amazing kindness. One of our listeners and viewers emailed me, because I put my email address out in the world, emailed me, and we had been emailing back and forth a little bit about, fun things to do in Hawaii, because Nikki and I were talking about that as well. So she emails me on Friday night and says, "I might have some tickets for you to the Taylor Swift concert tomorrow." Emailed back and said, "That is so nice, and I'm so interested, but I can't pay thousands of dollars for tickets." She messages back and says, "Oh, no. No, would be a gift to you." And I mean, what? Right? I mean, how can someone that can sell these for, $3,000 a ticket gift them to me? I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude and tearing up even now thinking about it. Just how someone could do something so kind. I'm telling you guys. And so I say to my daughter, "Listen, because you have to plan your outfit and make the friendship bracelets and do all the stuff." I say, "Listen, it's not for sure, but we might have tickets tomorrow to Taylor Swift. So don't get your hopes up, but make your plans just in case it happens, on the off chance." I said, "An email is supposed to come tomorrow morning." So my daughter the next morning runs into my room, logs into my phone because she knows my passwords, checks it, and I wake up to her screaming and jumping up and down and crying next to my bed. "We're going to Taylor Swift. We're going to Taylor Swift. This is great." Now, as I mentioned earlier, I worked in radio in Sacramento, music radio. I've done my share of concerts. I've been backstage. I've done the whole concert thing, introduced bands on stage and what have you. So I'm thinking to myself, I have a niece who is there is not a song on her playlist that isn't Taylor Swift. She will only listen to Taylor Swift. Talk about a Swiftie. She's 16 and, like my daughter, had never been to a concert. So I decide I'm going to give the extra ticket to my niece and I drive them both down to this concert. These girls had the time of their life. I mean, they have not been able to stop talking about it. What an amazing birthday weekend my daughter had, and a wonderful experience with her cousin. They will always share that, and I can't be more grateful. And I don't know if she wants me to mention her name, but I'm so thankful, and my niece and daughter are so thankful. And I just am still overwhelmed by that generosity, really. So, uh, the concert was amazing. I could kind of hear it from the parking lot. I spent, I wanna say 9 or 10 hours in the car between the drive down, and we got there early, and the wait for the concert to be over, and the drive home. It was a long haul in the car, worth every single moment to see how joyful these kids were. I mean, honestly, so, so cool. I saw the fireworks, over the stadium because they set off fireworks at Great America next door. And I think, Taylor Swift thought that they were for her or made a joke that they were, but that's kind of funny. You could hear the roar of the crowd when she came to the stage all the way from the parking lot, really far away. So it's pretty cool. Yes, Square, it was loud outside the venue, not the whole time, but I could hear, when the cheering was crazy, I could hear some of the music. Um, and again, I saw the fireworks, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. Uh, it's true. James says, I just dropped off and picked up a friend. I'm anti Taylor Swift, but they love the concert. It's interesting. I was reading the reason this concert was so long. It went on like more than 3 hours, is because she released albums when uh, she was stuck at home during the pandemic. Albums that she couldn't then tour for, right? So she had two albums that she released. I think she had a new album, and so because she was doing so many, she thought, well, let's just do all my different eras. And I know era, not like the the eras when you're looking at time and rock formations, but like Taylor Swift eras, her album eras. And so yeah, it's really interesting. That's why the concert went on so long. She had two mystery songs, I guess, that she does for each show, and she blew past the curfew. Not as much on Saturday night, but by a little bit. It was, I guess, longer on Friday night. But I've read reviews of the shows, and I mean, my girls are going to love it, but I've read reviews, and the reviews are just glowing that she was amazing, and personable and fun, and the music is good. I know because I had to listen to my kids, my daughter and my niece sing it 2 hours there and 3 hours back because of traffic. Karen asked, "Didn't they throw you out of the parking lot? I heard police were tossing people out of the parking lot if they were not inside the venue." Not only, Karen, did they not throw me out of the parking lot, but they didn't even check to see that I had purchased, thanks to our listener, a $200 parking voucher to get in. They just let people roll in without even checking. So that was interesting. And no, as a matter of fact, they didn't care. I was one of very few. So I spent a lot of time talking to the parking attendants and made a couple new friends. Kind of fun. Um, Katie says, I'm a bit old for Taylor Swift, but there seems to be so much goodness about her. Right. It's true. I'm glad everyone had a great time. SF Tesla is talking about dogs waiting in the parking lots by themselves. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't see any. I don't think people brought dogs, but maybe. Um, Lori talking about the woman who gifted the tickets to me in the most amazing display of generosity. Said she did me a mitzvah. Yeah. You deserve a kindness like this, especially on almost the eve of both your daughters' 14th on the launching of your own show. That's nice. Yes. Yeah, it's really kind. I mean, I think everybody deserves something good to happen to them, but it's not often that something like that falls into your lap. So it's really kind. Um, what's the big deal with the curfew? Well, it is a big deal in the city of Santa Clara. People live around the concert venue. There's a noise ordinance to be followed, and they have a certain, I guess, a limited number of events that they're allowed to go late on to 11 p.m. on the weekends. And this was one of them, but she went past even 11. I think there's a fine for that the venue may pay or the artist may pay. It's not much for them, like $10,000, in the scheme of things about how much they sold the tickets for. But I think it's upsetting to residents in the area. I don't know. Anonymous writes, I'm glad people admire her. Personally, she sings about the same stuff every time: breakups, romance, be strong, screw cheaters, same, different beat. The beats are catchy, the tunes are catchy, it's heartfelt. I think I think her popularity is because I think her genuineness shines through, right? Um, she's not somebody who's slick like Madonna. You know, you've seen maybe, videos of her behind the scenes. She's a little weird, maybe eccentric, not down to earth as much as someone like Taylor Swift, who is more relatable to people. Um, and maybe that's why. And I think also you have teens and girls in their 20s who are going through these very dramatic romances, right? And so those songs really are applicable to them. But I kind of like them too. I have to say, Anonymous, after hearing them all, which I did repeatedly. Um, John Slade says it's like every country song is about how they lost their lover in their truck. That's right. Al says if I watch a show, I'd watch a show if I could afford it. It'll be a while till I get to another Taylor Swift concert. Murphy says Taylor swallowed a bug on stage a few weeks ago and was able to laugh about it. I love that. I mean, that's why, right? I mean, yes, she's cool. Murphy, by the way, also another extremely kind listener who allowed Nikki's daughter to go see a show. So Murphy, hugely kind that you would reach out and do that for Nikki's daughter as well. We were both very fortunate that you guys stepped up for us, and it's so interesting because for so many years I working in music radio and at KGO, I've been the ones giving away tickets to events, right? Trying to make people happy, giving away these tickets. And it has never happened to me before. So, wow, just the amazing kindness that both Nikki and I felt. Lori, I have respect for Taylor Swift's talent. Musician, plays instruments, yep, writes and performs. The whole phenomenon is annoying to me, but I have to give her props. I can see that the whole Swift mania with it being talked about so much, finally you could be over it like enough already, right? But I do agree with you that she's the real deal. I mean, she's got major talent, not just as a singer, but as a writer, as a musician. So, yeah, she's the whole package. And I think once you hear the music, and if you sit with a couple of girls, which I know, Lori, you probably have in the classroom, you kind of catch that excitement for them. So, um, yeah, the hand of God, writes Curtis, is coming. Hollywood for the unjust. I don't know what that means. I don't know, but it creeped me out a little bit with the hand of God situation. I don't know what you're saying there, Curtis. But I just want to say again, thank you. Thank you to Murphy. Thank you to our amazing listener who came forward with those 2 tickets. You gave so much joy to a couple of girls that experienced their first concert, and I just couldn't be more thankful. Now, while I'm sitting in the parking lot, the shower of sequins and outfits walking by is pretty incredible. I took a lot of pictures and I will share them with you when Nikki is back tomorrow on the Nikki Maduro show. We'll check out some of the outfits that paraded by. I know it's kind of creepy me to take pictures of people. I thought, I got to take a picture of this. And then I thought, oh, should I be taking pictures of people without their permission? But I got a bunch of pictures. As a matter of fact, I got some really cute pictures that I wish I knew the people so that I could send them the photos of them walking and laughing with friends and just having a really fun time. Um, anyway, there are still people looking for Taylor Swift tickets. There are 4 more shows in Los Angeles coming up starting August 3rd at SoFi Stadium. The tickets again are ranging in the $2,000 to $3,000 range. I have friends who have daughters that were not able to get tickets and they're sad about it. So I was looking just to see. The cheapest tickets I found to Taylor Swift are in next May in Paris for 400 bucks. You have to fly to Paris to see Taylor Swift, which actually would be kind of cool if you could pull it off. Even in Mexico on StubHub, the Taylor Swift tickets are really, really expensive. So I don't know. Once again, thank you guys for being here and bearing with all my technical issues. Thank you for being part of this conversation. And Luis, major, major thank you for kicking in a $10 super sticker today and your kind comments about John and I and the after party, which starts tomorrow. So mahalo for that. I will say, as a reminder that we switch it up tomorrow. Here's what it looks like. 9 o'clock, this show begins. 9 a.m., the Nikki Maduro show. Nikki and I will be here. We will reprise our old morning show time frame, and it should be really fun. So 9 to 11, then we get to the Mark Thompson show from 11 to 1, and then we get to the after party live from 1 to 2. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you can do so at theafterparty.live. And we'll probably put a link up in the Mark Thompson show where you can click and just get right to the show tomorrow. But please click the like button today and please subscribe. If you can share these shows, Mark Thompson show, the Nikki Maduro show, we'd like to grow the shows. And so sharing of them really helps us do that. So if you have social media and you can just share a link or share a section of a show you liked, it could help us grow the show. So we appreciate your help on that as well. Thank you for being here so much, and I look forward to this new lineup and new time frame tomorrow. And so I will see you then. But for now, we got to go with Jacob, who has our goodbye. I think we're keeping the Jacob goodbye for the morning show as well. Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.